SoundCartel.
From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. A little over 10 years ago, Dr. May Chan and her husband, Dr. Reuben Sim, founded their first dental surgery in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne. Today, they've added another 9 clinics, including one in New Zealand, and a payroll of more than 150 staff. The success comes down to hard work, patient care, putting the right systems in place, and a dedicated and loyal team. Dental Boutique is well known for its cosmetic dental work. People walk away with better teeth and a better smile. You see, when May was a child, she was self-conscious of her own teeth. She tells Chris Ashmore that when she was 9, she damaged her teeth from a bad fall.
It chipped my front tooth. I had a root canal. There was a lot of blood. And at that time, I was lucky because my aunt was a dentist and she helped, to do the root canal and so on. However, it did not fix the cosmetic concern that I had. So I had ended up with a really dark tooth and a really crooked tooth as well. So growing up, I just never smiled in photos. You would never see a photo of me smiling. I would avoid going to, parties or even talk to friends or initiate a conversation because I was that embarrassed about my teeth. So it really affected me and my self-confidence as a child growing up. So from there, I always knew I wanted to be a dentist and I wanted to change how dentistry can be done. So as I became a dentist, that sort of motivated myself and my husband, who I met through dental school at the time. And, that's the reason why we started Dental Boutique and really wanted to change that mindset around what dentistry could be and what, cosmetic dentistry can change lives.
That's fantastic. Now, 10 years since your first practice, how was it in the beginning? Was it tough?
Yes. So we started with a donated dental chair that was donated from a friend of ours. And we just refurbished the chair to make it look better. And that's all we had, a nice, comfortable waiting room and one single chair. So because it wasn't cheap setting up a dental practice as well, Reuben had to work in another separate practice to continue to fund, at that time we call it our hobby, which is dentistry. And so Reuben was working somewhere else to fund a practice, and it was myself, and I started with just one team member. And that one team member would just be the receptionist, the dental assistant, the marketing, everything all in one together with myself. So, when we first started, we'll probably see one patient a week. We would walk around our neighborhood giving out flyers. We managed to grow one chair a year at that time. So 10 years ago, one chair, 9 years, 2 chairs, and so on. Up to the 4 years. So our initial first site of our practice was a capacity of 4 chairs. And at that time, up to 4 chairs, we were very fortunate enough to build an amazing team, a great system around, not just attracting patients, but lots of word of mouth as well. And at that time, we outgrew our first practice of 4 chairs. And we even had people waiting up on the streets, sort of like, because we lost our waiting room. There wasn't enough space in our waiting room to keep any patients at the waiting room. So at that time, we sort of decided, okay, I think it's time to expand. And therefore we moved across the road about 2-minute walk away from our initial practice. And there was an 8-chair practice. So we started with 8. We thought, okay, well, let's double the capacity. Surely that will be more than enough. But again, I think we were very fortunate that it was very quickly outgrown as well within 2 years. And then we added 4 more and 4 more and 4 more every year. And it was a rapid growth from that point onwards as well.
What contributed to the growth? Was it the word of mouth?
I would say word of mouth is definitely still 50% of what we get today. So word of mouth is huge. I think especially with the impact of cosmetic dentistry, it does change lives. And from that point of view, people do talk about the experience that they had with us, and that become a big thing. So in terms of word of mouth, it is still a big chunk, but also I think what sort of helped the growth as well is definitely that, Reuben and I can actually step out and be working, I guess, more on the business than in the business, because I think initially we're very heavily involved in the dentistry, but as we grew with our reputation and in the industry and outside the industry, I think attracting great quality dentists isn't as much as an issue, and we can kind of entrust our team to deliver the amazing service that they do today.
Do you offer both traditional dental services as well as cosmetic dentistry?
Yes, we do. In terms of dentistry, we actually always believed in a holistic sort of dentistry service where you don't have to, depending on what you need, you would just step into the clinic and you would be guided by our team in terms of what you need. And, it doesn't matter if you're looking for braces or just a checkup and clean or, implants. We do a whole array of all services. So you don't have to traditionally, you might have to come into a practice and you might get referred out to different places to get things done. But as we grew, we believe in this, one place where you would get everything you need done under one roof.
You've gone through certain different types of growth from when you first started, that initial stage, to where you are today, which is pretty big. Is there a kind of a life cycle of business growth?
Definitely there is a life cycle, and I think I've learned this from somewhere, but business is really, it's like a human, like you have a life cycle and you go through from your infancy stage all up until your adulthood. So when you're firstly an infancy stage, or we call it the startup stage, the business would require a solid foundation, and, all you're looking for at the time is cash flow, because, that's what kept the place alive. And that was when I was talking about how my husband would work somewhere else to fund the business, because cash flow is so crucial. Otherwise, you won't get to do what you love doing if it wasn't for cash flow. So also, being really careful about not overspending on wages as well, and even materials and everything that you do is really important in the very infancy stage. So all we're trying to do is really get as many people coming in to see us as possible, as well as really minimizing on the expenses side of things. And as you grow and you get a lot more, cash flow happening, then you sort of go into more like the teenager stage. And when you're in the teenager stage, you have rapid growth. So, patience wasn't so much a problem. And, at that time, you sort of require more system and structures. So, at that time, yes, you can afford to spend on the bigger team and invest in your team a little bit more. But it's so crucial that, you don't lose touch, because when you're a small team, you are two-person band, me and Reuben, it's easy to keep track of everything that's happening on the ground, right? Like, if the receptionist wasn't delivering the service or how you think they should be delivered, you would step in and make sure that happens. So, and you will bridge that gap. However, as you grow, your eyes can't be everywhere and you can't be on the floor everywhere as well. So it's so important that we then start to build inbuilt systems and structures, like an SOP, standard operating procedure, for every single thing. So we used to have one receptionist that does everything, right? And now we have a receptionist, we have the dental assistant, we have the marketing team, they get the calls, the people, the administrative people that only handles the calls coming in. So now we have more complexity within the system to then, be able to deliver hopefully an even better experience, because the people that handles calls only deals with calls and they don't have to juggle between multiple tasks that they're doing. But I think it's so crucial that at that point you provide structure to the business, which is the teenager stage. So it won't sort of grow too fast and you lose that experience for the patient or the quality. And the last stage will be the adult and maturity stage, where the business will definitely be a lot less reliant on you. I think this is the stage where you can definitely be a lot more hands-off and work on the business. And it is important to just really still maintain, you would need to manage from a data point of view, looking at, just the numbers, the KPIs, the profitability of the clinic, and just ensuring that, and also still having audits to measure patient feedback, surveys that we actually send out after every appointment to make sure patients are satisfied or really happy with the service. So that would be the maturity stage. And also I think it's so important also at this stage that legal is also an important aspect that a lot of people potentially overlook. And that can really be a really important thing that you need to ensure you're across it as well.
So is that where you are now, the mature stage? And does that mean that you and Reuben are not on the tools, let's say, and you're completely 100% you're managing the business?
Yes, so we're a very unique business where, because we have multiple clinics now that we've expanded across Australia, we started off obviously with one clinic and now we have about 10 clinics across Australia and one in New Zealand as well. So What is different is that we have clinic like Balwyn, which is mature. So it's, quite self-running. It's got people on the ground. What is important during a mature business is that we need to keep up with the innovations, and we need to keep the passion in the team alive as well, still doing dentistry as they would from day one. So they're not getting complacent. However, we've got, for example, New Zealand that just recently opened up, and that is now an infancy stage again. So we've got businesses at the moment across, clinics in Sydney, which is more like a teenager stage at the moment. So I guess we are juggling multiple different stages of business cycle as we go.
Wow. Certainly got a lot on your hands. Now, we've spoken about a few things, but what would you say are some of the factors that have contributed to your success?
I would say passion. I think, there's lots of saying out there that, if you're not passionate about what you do, you won't get there, because there's only that much hard work that will contribute to your success. You need to be passionate and you need to believe in what you do to be able to be successful. Because if you don't, ultimately it gets too hard and you give up. So, I think passion is what really keeps us going every day, and up until today. It doesn't matter if I get one bad patient experience that was reported, my heart breaks. I can't take it. I'm like, why? And how did you get there? So I think we've got to really be obsessed with setting that standard so high, for our team, because if you're passionate, your team feels it and they replicate what you do. Yeah, I would say that would be one of the most important things. And obviously, I wouldn't be here today if we don't have an amazing team that backs us every single day. We've got a team member that just celebrated her 10-year anniversary with us, from when we first started. And for her to be able to believe in, what we do on a day-to-day basis and still here today, showing the way to the younger team members that come through the door, I think it's a really powerful thing. And I think, we are extremely grateful for herself and many other team members that's been with us for many years.
That was Dr. May Chan, co-founder and director of Dental Boutique. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow @BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel.